All right, and welcome to the Compare Contrast lecture. Basically, this is just talking about how to set up a compare contrast essay. And so let's sort of talk about what a compare contrast thesis statement is going to look like. All right, so just like any other thesis statement, the compare contrast thesis statement needs to include what the topic is and how you're going to talk about it. All right, so in this case, you're comparing two things. You're comparing and contrasting two things. All right, so in our example here, Miss California and Miss Missouri. So those are the two things that are going to be judged. All right, and then you're going to need to decide what criteria are being used to judge both. Right, so to compare contrast, it's not like Miss California only has to do the swimsuit talent competitions, but Miss California can skip evening gown and speaking. No, they both have to do all the portions of the pageant. And so just like that, in your papers for your compare contrast, whatever two things you're comparing need to have the same criteria to judge both of the topics. All right. So in this case, the thesis statement, Miss California and Miss Missouri are judged in the evening gown, swimsuit talent, and speaking portions of the Miss America beauty pageant. All right, that lets us know these are the two things we're talking about. Here's how they are both going to be talked about. Here's how they're both going to be judged. Right, there are two ways to organize your compare contrast essay. You can do it in block format or you can do it in point by point format. And neither one of them is better or worse. It really just sort of depends on how you process information, or more importantly, how you want your reader to process your information. And these can be expanded way beyond 5-paragraph essays. I mean, you can have as many criteria as you want, but I'm using the 5-paragraph essay as just the model. All right, so if we look at the block format, all right, so you got your introduction, which is going to introduce the topic. The last sentence will be your thesis statement. All right, and then so in this example, we're comparing and contrasting pet owners and non-pet owners, and the criteria we're using to judge both is house cleanliness, stress, and money. All right, and then you'll notice here I got first body paragraph is everything about pet owners. Second body paragraph is everything about non-pet owners. And the third paragraph is an analysis. It can also look at things that are similar. There's a little bit more flexibility with that third body paragraph. All right, and then again your conclusion. All right, you can process the same information in a different way with the point-by-point essay. All right, again, introduction, which is going to introduce the topic. All right, with your last sentence being your thesis statement. All right, and here, instead of organizing it by pet owners versus not pet owners, this time we're organizing it by house cleanliness. So first we're talking about everything in this paragraph is about house cleanliness. All right, and we'll start with the pet owners, how clean their houses are, versus non-pet owners, how clean their houses are. All right, in the second body paragraph, everything is about stress. How much less stress pet owners have versus non-pet owners. All right, and then third body paragraph, everything is about money. So how pet owners are now broke because they're spending all their money on pet toys, versus not pet owners never are broke because, well, they don't have pets. It's a little bit of a reach, but we'll go with it. All right, so either of these is perfectly fine to set up your paper in. It's really up to you what makes most sense to you. All right, so it's the same information, different ways of seeing it. All right, so comparing means to examine similarities, so things that are alike. All right, and a lot of time things seem really similar initially, but if you do a little bit more digging, you find out they're really, really very different. The movies Suburbicon and American Beauty both sort of start with that premise, like, look how everything is exactly the same. All right, but then you dig in a little bit deeper, and the whole story is about how just completely screwed up everything is. All right, and very, very different. All right, and especially different from what everything looks like. All right, and contrasts have to do with looking at things that are really, really different. Right? And in real life, things often look really different, but a lot of the time they actually just have a lot of things in common. And like every rom-com movie ever starts with this premise. It's the two people, initially they hate each other because they're so different, but then they get to know each other and they find out they're not so different after all, and they fall in love and everybody lives happily ever after. All right, so that's the compare contrast. Let me know if you have questions.